The economy often represents something distant, large, and abstract to most people. It becomes much easier to understand if we break the concept down based on the main players in any specific economy. The main players are households, businesses, and governments. For a given country that interacts with the rest of the world, foreign nations can also be a part of the economy. In this video, based on content from Chapter 2 of Invisible Hand, Visible Profits by Dr. Kruti, we will walk through how resources are employed to create products and how money moves through the economy. The circular flow of the economy contains two main markets, the resource market and the product market. There are also two main or basic players in this economy, households and businesses. The roles of these players are opposite in each market. The simplest circular flow model shows how resources, products, and money move through the economy due to these players. As we add more players like governments and foreign nations, the flow might appear more complex, but its core logic remains the same. It is simple on purpose, because this basic structure explains a surprising amount about how business and economic life fit together. Let us look at the simple model with just the basic players that sits in the center of the model. In the resource market, households supply land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, while businesses buy them. What is cost for business becomes income for households. In the product market, businesses sell goods and services, whereas the buyers are households. Here, what is expenditure for the households becomes revenue for businesses. The real output flow moves one way. Households provide resources, businesses turn them into output, and households consume that output. The money flow moves the other way. Businesses pay wages, rent, interest, and entrepreneurial profit, and households use that income to buy goods and services. That is the heart of the circular flow. Income in one market becomes spending in the other, and revenue loops back into new payments again. Now let us add a key player into the economy. Government sits at the center and participates on both sides of both markets, and interacts with households and businesses as well. It collects revenues from households and businesses, then uses portions of those revenues to hire resources and purchase goods and services. In return, it provides public services such as infrastructure, legal protection, and national defense, which support the conditions that make markets work. The rest of the world expands the circular flow beyond national borders. In resource markets, foreign participation can appear through offshoring, foreign direct investment, immigrant labor, and internationally sourced raw materials. In product markets, exports and imports carry goods one way and money the other. The same exchange logic still applies, but now there are more participants and more friction points, including tariffs, exchange rates, trade agreements, and regulatory differences. But like we discussed earlier, these are mostly just variations on the theme of how the two core markets, resources and products, are managed by the players in the circular flow. This is where understanding of the circular flow model becomes very practical. Your supplier may be abroad, your competitor may be headquartered elsewhere, and your customers may sit across multiple continents. That means a disruption anywhere in the system can eventually find its way to your business, or even your household. A supply chain shock, a currency movement, or a policy change is not isolated for long, because the circular flow connects them. Disruptions, whether positive or negative, flow through the entire system, ensuring that growth or shrinkage of an economy are not isolated events, but rather a link in a longer chain of events. A solar panel example is a good way to read the flow step by step. When lower-priced foreign panels entered the product market, domestic producers lost market share, and demand for domestic manufacturing labor fell in the resource market. When the government added tariffs, some domestic producers were protected, but they raised costs for installers, construction firms, and utility firms that were buying panels. The circular flow model cannot tell you whether the tariff was good or bad, but it can show who was affected and how the costs moved within the system. The resource market matters because it determines the cost side of every business. The four factors of production are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, and each has its own payment: rent, wages, interest, and entrepreneurial profit. Land includes natural resources, not just physical ground. Entrepreneurship is especially important here because it is defined as the coordinating and risk-bearing function, not just accounting profit left over at the end. And the reason for placing entrepreneurship separately from the labor resource is simple. The former does not represent hourly wage-driven work, but rather the ability to take informed risks and make key economic decisions. The main idea is that the economy is not a blur of events. It is a connected system of flows between resource and product markets and economic actors. When something in the economy changes, the circular flow model helps you trace where it began, who it touched next, and how it reaches your business. This is why economics is less about theory and more about reading the structure behind everyday decisions. Which cost, which policy, which shift will shift what in your own business. Like this video? Then you'll love the book. Get your copy of Invisible Hand, Visible Profit, The Simple Science Behind Smart Decisions, as an ebook, paperback, or audiobook on Amazon, Apple Books, Google Play, Spotify, and other platforms.